thought for your thoughts. Did I steal that? Yeah, I did. Sorry. But this is another video here. Just something that I've been thinking about here recently. Um, it's really about what our brain is like. I know everybody can be different. I know everybody has different thoughts and different ways to view things and different perspectives, basically. But what I don't know is how people's brains work. And I don't think we as a people really understand it. We understand that it's an organ. We understand that it's, of course, uh, a lot of it has to do with electrical waves going through all your neurons and everything like that. We know all of that. We know the basis of it, but I don't think we understand why. And I think there's a lot of it that is it's a question that you just really can't fathom. So you can't even think about what the answer is. So we can assume, we can theorize, we can do whatever, and obviously it's not going to be the same for everybody. But I just it's just one of those things that I think sometimes, like, what I think of is that what somebody else is thinking of. That's another reason why I wanted to do this channel, is to let people inside my own brain. Um, so for me personally, my brain doesn't stop. I don't know if anybody else has that issue, or I don't even know if it's an issue or what. But my brain, it constantly goes. Uh, I don't know if you call that the physical brain, or is it just your consciousness, your what's the word I'm looking for, like a thought chatter, I guess you could say. I mean, there's something going on in here, which is what you think your mind is, and it's different than what other people's are, because like I said, we all have our own perspectives or anything. But does anybody have that thought chatter going on constantly? Um, and I don't know. I've never really asked that question to anybody. I have asked the question of, do y'all think all the time? And I've gotten some different responses. Me personally, I think all the time. There's not a second, not a minute in the day or whatever that goes by that I'm not really thinking about something. And then when I try to think about nothing, I'm thinking about nothing. So inside my brain, I'm sitting there, contemplating nothingness. And is that turning your brain off, or can we do it, or what? Some people seem to think so. Some people say, I don't think about anything. I have nothing. Like they'll conversate and have a conversation, and then they're just there. They're just sitting there, and I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. So it kind of makes me think, like, is it normal, or is just something that you think is happening? I don't know. It's crazy to think about. Um, so I don't want to speculate on what anybody else's perspective is and how their brain works. I can only tell you how my brain works. But yeah, I think about things constantly, and you might see that as like overthinking, and that could be an issue. And I know there's been papers out there that basically say that if you overthink too much, that it could be a sign of anxiety, could be a sign of depression or whatnot. And I'm like, well, I'm not depressed. I don't think I have anxiety. The things that I see people with anxiety, I don't have those symptoms. All I have is an overactive brain, an overactive thought process. Like, for instance, you can present me with a problem, and I think this kind of relates to my troubleshooting type thing, because me personally, I like tech, I like electronics. Um, I've liked tech since I was like 13 when I got my first computer. Um, that's kind of crazy to think about. When I was 13, which was what, 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. I'm 32, so 29 years ago or 19 years ago. I can't even do math. It's like 2:30 in the morning. Go figure, right? Anyway, so almost 20 years ago, I got my first computer, and that was what 1990. Yeah, but that's fucking crazy. No, that's 2000. No, that ain't right. Maybe I've got my thought process wrong. Anyway, who cares about the dates? Dates or time is just something. It's not linear. We just perceive it that way. That's a movie quote. If you don't, if you know. Anyway, if you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. Anyway, see, now I've gotten off topic. Now I'm thinking about movie quotes. That's how my brain works. It goes from subject to subject, just all the time. But when I got my first computer, I remember wondering how it worked. So I took it apart. I broke it down piece by piece. Uh, didn't know what each part was, but I got to, I got hands on with it. I've got, and then at that point, I'm like, well, shit, I've got to put this back together. And so I figured out how to put it back together and how everything works and everything. And that's where my love for tech came from. So I have a troubleshooting mind. If you come with me at a problem, I'll try to fix that problem, even while you're talking, and it gets really annoying because I'll start thinking like somebody's talking to me and has an issue. So in my brain, I'm already working to see what causes the issue, why you have that issue, and how to fix that issue. All while you're still trying to tell me what's going on. Um, and it gets loud in here. Like, I mean, it's not a loud like you have music blaring or anything like that. It's a loud of just thoughts, just trying to figure out everything. Like I said, I think about those three things. What caused the issue? Why do you have this issue? And how to fix it or whatnot. It's not necessarily in that order or whatever. But I think about that all while trying to focus on you telling me something, and then trying to listen to what you're telling me. And I mean, the thoughts just it goes and goes and goes, and I miss a lot of what you're actually saying because I'm actually trying to think, you know, about what the issue is. And then on top of that, I'll start thinking about what they're thinking of. This is how my brain goes. I'll start thinking about what they're thinking of. And then I start overthinking about what they're thinking of, on top of trying to think of what the issue is, how to fix it, on top of trying to listen to what you're actually saying, on top of, just what I did last Tuesday. It'll just keep going and going and going and going. So some people might think that is like an overactive brain or whatever, and that might be the case, but it's something that, obviously I like, and I can control it. But I'm just curious on if anybody else actually has that type of mentality, that type of thought chatter, I guess is the question. And I mean, it's not anything about. It's not just that specific type of stuff either. I'll do that with everything. I always tell people that you can present a problem or present a discussion with me, and I'll think about both sides, argue both sides for the next 30 minutes inside my brain until I get to the bottom of what I need to get. Um, for instance, here recently, I was trying to figure out something that I could do. Um, Basically like a service or a product that I could sell or something to make money. That's a common thing that I think of all the time. But I'll see something that I think is cool, that I kind of want to own myself. But then I immediately try to think of, well, how can I sell this to make money? When that's not the right thing. That's not the right, and that pisses me off a lot too. I'll get pissed off at myself. Like, dude, come on, like you don't have to sell every fucking thing that you you think of. But it's It's just how my brain works. Maybe I'm just tied to that mentality, and it's not a good thing, but it's not a bad thing either. Um, Going on along with that, with a overactive brain like I do, and with how much thought chatter is in my brain, I do sometimes talk to myself. Hell, I'm talking to myself right now. You know, I think that's a social construct that people has it has been built to as a societal standpoint. People who talk to themselves are crazy. Uh, Am I wrong? You tell me what you think if you see somebody talking to themselves. You see somebody out on the street. I see it all the time, especially with like the homeless population or the people that are just out there on drugs or whatever. They sit there and they talk to themselves, and you immediately think, damn, they're fucking crazy. But at the same time, I talk to myself all the time. I've caught myself talking to myself. And it's something that I really can't deny anymore. And there's been, yeah, like I said, there's that social construct of oh, well, if you're talking to yourself, you're immediately crazy. You're immediately, just out of your mind. But in my thought process, it's not really that bad. It actually helps me work. It helps me get through things. So, say for instance, I'm working on a computer or a car. I do it with everything. And I'm working through the process. I'll sit there and I'll talk my way through an issue. Now, I mean, it just might be something random as say I'm working on a car and damn, where'd that fucking 10 millimeter go? You always lose the fucking 10 millimeter socket, wrench, whatever. You always lose that son of a bitch. Um, so I'll talk to myself. Where did that damn motherfucker go? What the fuck? Did I leave it over here? Did I leave it over there? Most people do that inside of their brains, but there's so much going on inside my brain. I have to think about it. So I'll talk about it, and like I said, it helps me because for one, I'm thinking of it. For two, I'm talking, so I have to form the words that actually come out of my mouth. And then three, I'm hearing myself talk to myself. So it helps me get through issues. It helps me get through the process. And it's just a thing that I've adapted to over the years. He recently, somebody had pointed out, hey, you talking to yourself, and I'm like, shit, I am, and I've started, like I said, catching myself, talk to myself, and I'm like, is that really a bad thing? So I do what any kind of overthinker does, and I look it up. Um, which that's a whole nother video about the internet and how I think the internet has made us dumber. Not really smarter, but that's a whole nother subject. Wait for a video on that because I really do got one on that one. So I went and I looked it up, looked up some random things, and I caught a couple of research papers actually talking about how it's linked to signs of being more intelligent, and I'm like, well, I don't really know about that. I don't think I'm smarter because I'm talking to myself. That's kind of odd, to think. But I mean, like I said, I think it's just my perspective on how I perceive on my process. Like I said, I mean, everybody has their way of doing things. Um, for instance, give you an example. Math. No, a lot of people don't like math. Some people love math. I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. I know my ways around math, so I use my own little maps and everything to get the right formula, to get the right answer and everything. And I usually do it all in my head. Going through school, but teachers hated that. There was a one specific teacher that I really used to get on their nerves because I never showed my work, and that was one of those, you have to show your work, you have to show your work, and I always argued with him, and I'm like, the purpose of your tests, the purpose of this class in particular or whatever is to get the high grade, right? That's the whole purpose. If I know what I'm doing, why do I have to show my work? And their argument was, well, you show your work that way I know that you know. And I'm like, well, you don't have to know that because I'm getting the right answer. And then I actually had, this was a district teacher that actually fucking said that I was cheated. And I'm like, I'm not cheating because I'm getting, like, I usually get done first. So how am I cheating? That I get done before everybody else? Go figure, right? I actually failed some kind of test. I forgot, it was like a midterm, or maybe it was a final, maybe it was something. I don't remember. This was a long time ago. I think this was like a freshman in high school. And I remember getting done with their tests first, and just sitting there. And like somebody had asked me something, and I was like, ah, man, I don't know. And because I said, man, I don't know, dude took it as I was cheating. And I'm like, I'm already fucking finished with my test. How am I cheating? But it was just one of those things that, I don't show my work because I have my own way to get there. And if I've got the right answer, what does it matter about how I got there? If I got there, I got there. That's the way I see it. And that's more logical. But the whole purpose with that was, I have my own process on how to work things through. And I usually, like with math problems or anything like that, I'll talk myself through it, whether it be out loud or whatever. And I think that's just a different way to interpret things. I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if it's a bad thing. You tell me. What do you think? Do you think if you saw me randomly talking to myself one day trying to work things through, would you think I'm crazy? Is that just a social construct? I don't know. I really don't. Like I said, I don't know how other people's brains react. I thought I was normal until I start hearing other people that can actually shut their brain off. So I'm like, well, shit, am I normal? Fuck, I don't know. Is anybody normal? So it's just one of those things that I think about. I think about why we think. is that fucking insane, or is it just another way to perceive things? I mean, like this whole fucking this whole channel, this whole playlist type thing that I've got going on. It's just going to be things that, like I've said many times, uh, things that I think about and the things that happen in a world of gray because we don't know. We don't know a lot of things. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Um, what was there was something I was thinking of dealing with consciousness and how your thought patterns are. I should have this all in line and everything, but that's not what this is for. Uh, I'm not editing to cut out all the dead air or anything like that because I don't. That's not what I want out of this series. It's more along the lines of me just conversating with you. And if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, whatever, leave them in the comments or whatever, and I'll get to you. But I mean, this is less of trying to be perfect, like a lot of YouTube creators, and more along the lines of I'm just conversating with myself. Because ultimately, I'm talking to a camera, and yeah, I could be talking to you, but if you don't join in the conversation, I am just one of those crazy motherfuckers who's just sitting here talking to themselves. So I mean, so yeah, this is just the stuff, and that was kind of filling in the dead air while I try to think of what I was talking about, and I have what I think of I was talking about. Um, I like to think of my of brains as we think of them as computers, don't we? Since we have electric, uh, whatever. I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist or anything. So I have another video idea on that of we're actually making ourselves dumber by trying to be smarter. That's coming. That's a good one. So we have this thought process of how the neurons spark, and that's how we control what our body does, and that's how we control what we think about, and all that nonsense. So we look at it as it's an electrical component in like a big computer. So this is my computer. This is my CPU right here. um I actually like to think of it as a mechanical hard drive. We're not quite to an SSD quite yet in our own brain. Uh, and this is just my tech mind going off. You know, a mechanical hard drive takes a minute because uh, it has to spin. Basically, it's a mechanical hard drive. So it sits there and it spins and goes through all the stuff trying to figure out what you're actually trying to pull up. And it does it really fast. And I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about a mechanical hard drive because that's for mass storage of everything. Um, but it's not as quick as a solid state drive or SSD. A solid state drive can go and get the information that you're looking for a lot faster because it doesn't have a mechanical aspect to it. It just does it. Um, and I like to think of our brains as mechanical hard drives. Maybe some people have put it to an SSD, and if you have, I'd like to know how you did that for one. Um, but in my experience on what my brain thinks of, somebody could ask me a question, and I will listen to your question, hear your question, think about your question while you're thinking of it, like I've already established. Um, but then it takes me a second, and you know sometimes I'll follow it up when and I've noticed people who have posted like little memes of that of you know I'm not actually not hearing you. I'm trying to give my basically saying like I asked you a question, and then you said, "Huh." You actually heard everything. It's not like you're deaf, but you're trying to comprehend and come up with an answer that it's a little bit slower. And that's me because like I said, I'm thinking about, you know, 15 different aspects of what's going on in that moment. So while I'm thinking about all of that, I also have to think of an answer to throw at you. So I'm not that quick. Um, and maybe that's a bad thing, or maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. But that's that. Like I said, that's how my brain works. Um, so if anybody has a reasoning behind all of that, I can't really look something like that up because I don't know what the keywords are. You can't just go to Google and type in a paragraph and expect it to actually come up with something. That's not how Google works. Google works by searching the keywords of what you're actually searching for. But so I mean, if you have a whole paragraph in there, it's picking up a fucking bunch of different words, and that's just not how it works. I move my mouse. That's why you see this going on in the background. I just want something going on in the background. That way, it's not just me sitting here talking. You're not just focused on me, because I'm not Brad Pitt or anything. But anyway, but now I lost my fucking train of thought. Thinking about that. Uh, Mechanical hard drives. I don't know. That happens a lot too. Oh, because I'm thinking about 15 different aspects of what you're actually asking me about. So it's not like I'm not listening to you, and it's not like I'm ignoring you or I didn't hear you. That little huh or that little what, just you don't have to repeat yourself unless I really didn't hear you. But 99% of the time I heard you. It's just taking me a second to actually think of an answer to give you because I'm also answering all the other different things of, for instance, I'm in an interview. So I'm sitting here talking to somebody. So does anybody have this happen? I'm sitting here talking to somebody. So I'm sitting here thinking about what I'm trying to say, how to answer their questions, how I'm actually answering my questions, whether I want to use, you know, my extended vocabulary or I would just want to use the regular vocabulary that I use every day. Um, if I want to, you know, it, get some kind of reaction out of them. Do I want to tell some kind of quip? Do I want to do a little bit of sarcasm? Do I want to, whatever? So I think about how I actually say things because that matters. That's why this is a little side note. Again, my brain goes in 15 million different directions. That's actually a little thing that I had going on in a thought the other day was Fuck, now I've lost it. um, shit. Yeah, that's gone. I got off on a little side tangent. I apologize. Anyway, getting back to the main subject. So as I'm thinking about what I'm trying to, now it's came back to me. Now it's came back to me. In text, email, whatever. It's one of those things that you can say something means something totally different, and it's all because of how you say it. And we've lost the way to conversate somebody because it's all text nowadays. It's all text. Technology has made us turn everything into text, whether it's emails, whether it's papers, whatever it is. Um, it's all based on the interpretation of how you actually read it. And you might read something that's just simple, elegant, or whatever. You might actually read it as they're attacking you. And then you start getting on the defensive about it because of how you actually read it. And that's not my ordeal. That's not me. That's you. Just because you read it somehow doesn't mean that's what I meant. That's not what I meant at all. I've gotten a lot of, hate texts back from fucking random people talking about, why did you say it like that? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? This is all I meant by it. But if we were actually conversating about it, and you actually heard how I was actually setting everything up, that's a whole different ballgame, isn't it? That's my whole point. I think text is kind of killed conversations, and that's not good. That's not good. But anyway, finish that little side note. I'm back in the interview now, so I'm sitting there thinking about how I'm presenting myself, but I'm also looking at the person. So you ever just look at a person and wonder where you're actually supposed to be looking? I get that a lot. Like I'll look off into space trying to think of what I'm hearing. I'm taking in everything. Again, once you're talking, I'm sucking everything in. I'm hearing everything that you're actually saying to me. But I'm also thinking about how to respond, what to say, just making my way downtown, just one of those type things. Um, so I'm going through the waves of trying to get through this conversation, right? But that's one of the things that I think about. Like, where am I supposed to be looking? So I'm in an interview and I'm supposed to be looking you dead in the eye. But sometimes I get distracted. I'll look at your nose. I'll look at your mouth. I'll look to see how you're saying things. I'll look to see up. I'll look at your hairline when your hair is like this. That gets distracting because you start looking at all these different things and you start thinking about all these different things while they're asking you a question. You actually do miss it. So I don't know if it's a good thing to have an overactive brain. All I can say is that I have the most overactive brain that I could think of, and I don't know if that's a good thing. Is it? A lot of people think of like if you have an overactive brain that you have a lot going on, and in all reality, I don't have a lot going on. I just like to do it. It's just something I've done for 32 years. Or I like to think that I've done 32 years. Did I have that kind of thought process when I was 3? I don't know. I don't remember. Pardon me. Um, this video is way too long. I might try to cut it down. Uh, Maybe not. Maybe I'll just throw it up there like this. Is anybody going to actually listen to it? I don't know. Uh, does anybody actually look at my entire 2-hour live streams? No. So they're on there if you want to look at them. I ain't gonna stop you. But anyway, that's just my thought process on how my thought process works. Does that make sense? Um, there's a lot going on in my brain, and I like to think that I'm not alone on that. So if there's other people who think like that, let me know. I really want to think that. Well, I really want to know. Um, because I'm not saying that it's a good thing or a bad thing. And even if I know if other people are doing it, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just talking in circles. So, anyways, on that note, we end it.